Hey everyone, and welcome to the Level Design Lobby. You're joined by me, your host, lead level designer, Max Pears. But not just me, we have someone that's travelled a great deal of time and space to be actually sat in the office with me, and as you can see with this, Al has given up that my office is quite small. As you can see, we're really, really close together. But I have the incredible guest here that is studio director and game director of Silent Hill F, Al Yang.
Hey Max, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, mate. Me and Al have known each other for about 2-3 years now.
About 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, something like that.
And Al has been a great help in helping me transition into leadership, and also just someone I absolutely admire in terms of design mind. It feels cringy saying that when we're next to one another, right? Like looking into his eyes versus a computer.
It's fine. You can say whatever you like.
That's it. But Al, as I mentioned, you and your team over at NeoBards have released that of Silent Hill F, and that's going to be one of the main things that we'll be discussing today. So buckle up, get ready, and get ready to be a bit scared throughout. So Al, mate, as I mentioned, you've had the game director on Silent Hill F. You've worked in a range of titles, been in the industry for a while. Do you mind giving the people kind of a rundown of who you are, your career before leading up to Silent Hill F?
Sure. So I actually have a degree in music. Of all things. Yeah, that's a random thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually helped game design quite a bit. Mainly because game design, a lot of it is just feeling. It's like people feel a specific way when they play the game. Level feels a specific way. Mechanic feels a specific way. But there's still rules behind. There's ways to do these things to get these type of feelings out.
Yeah.
Whereas with music, same thing. It's like you don't need to understand music, but you listen to it and it makes you feel happy, makes you feel sad. It brings out specific emotions. But there's rules on how you arrange notes or how you basically, your scales, etc., that make a specific feeling for players. So I think that's probably one of the main things that I've learned from that. And it's actually been very helpful.
Yeah. And so I'm curious then with that one, because how did you transition from a creative art nonetheless to that of games? And especially people will hear shortly like you've had a lot more involvement in design versus say audio. So how did that transition come about?
Oh, that's weird. So I think I started around, what year is this? It's
2025.
2025, year of our Lord 2025. So, oh gosh, it's been, I think, about 19 odd years ago.
Wow.
It's been a while. So back then, I think it's around 2006 at this point. MMOs are really hot.
Yeah.
That was kind of the big thing there. So Ragnarok Online for a lot of Asia, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, really kind of like blowing up. So I always wanted to get in the game industry, but I wasn't sure how. But had a lot of influence with the music growing up. Went to school for music, and then I was like, you know what, I want to write music for video games. So Final Fantasy, the music from that specifically, 6, 4, 7, these three, like something that was really dear to me. And then Xenogears, so all the soundtracks for these games.
God, Xenogears, that is a throwback, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of a traditional sponsor, what I'm offering now is that of joining the mailing list. Social media is constantly changing all the time, as we're seeing some people are leaving Twitter, others are choosing to remain, Blue Sky, Threads, all of this. So it's really hard to reach out to all of you incredible aspiring and current game devs. So what I'm offering here is that of a emailing list. So if you want to be kept up to date with all of the great level design news, as well as get your free guide, which is my 10 tips towards better level design, then please join the mailing list. You'll be making sure to get 3 emails a week with me sharing that of different resources, ideas, as well as what I've learned through my career and some Q&As. So if you're constantly looking to improve level design and instead trying to figure out where all this information may be, then look no further than the mailing list. Check down in the description below to join now and get that of your 10 tips to improve your level design.
Remember, Mitsuda-san did Gears, Chrono Trigger, some of the
Yes.
really, really good stuff back then.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really wanted to get into music. Actually, the point, here's a fun one, which is for my high school graduation, I rearranged the Final Fantasy, kind of the prelude you hear at the very beginning of the game. And we had our band play that, or our music teacher agreed to let the band play that as kind of the outro for our graduation ceremony in high school. And I don't think a single person knew. Actually, just maybe like one or two people, but like no one knew what that actually was. So that was like, okay, yeah, I want to get into this. I'm like, it's my first step towards doing real video game music.
Yeah.
And so I went to school, came out, got a job in the Taiwanese game industry. And this time, like, no one knew how to get into games. So I was like, I'm gonna use music to do it. And then I remember going to E3 the year I graduated, and then had my resume, and I snuck into Kensha Hall, which still existed at that time, down in the basement, and I was just passing my resume to people. I was like, hey, do you guys need a sound guy? Do you guys need an audio engineer? And then these guys from Taiwan, they're like, you know what? Yeah, we could use a guy. So I got a job over there.
Yeah.
And my first year there, I was like, man, I hate doing sound for games. I hate doing music for games. It's terrible. So I was like, had like a crisis. Like, is this what I should be doing? So I went back. At that point in time, the games program just opened up at USC.
Right.
And I was like, what is this thing? So my old professor was like, you should take a look at this if you're interested in this. I was like, I went in. And I was like, okay, applied, got in, and then went to school there, and at the same time was working. So I was doing QA at Square Enix, doing some QA at Blizzard at the same time. So in those few years, and then after I graduated, I got a job with THQ, which no longer exists as that entity now. And they sent me to China.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was out in China for a few years working on online games.
Right. Okay.
Over there. And I started with the level design over there. Level design primarily, and then some mechanics. And then once my stint was done, I went back to the US with Sony Superbot, working on, I think, one of my favorite titles, which is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Yes, I remember playing that.
Which is, as you know, it is the icon brawler of all time.
That's it. Yeah,
nothing else even comes close to it. Nothing else even plays like it.
Look. Sackboy who has his, his major kill moves.
Oh yeah. So, fun fact, I was the guy that worked on Sackboy, and leading up to launch, there's a few of us that didn't sleep for about 3 days straight.
Jesus.
And we were trying to balance stuff.
Yeah.
And we put in, I remember, like, half an hour before Gold Master, like, let's do these balance changes.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
I was going to say yes. That is a risky idea.
Especially, like, 72 hours of no sleep.
Jeez, yeah.
And this is like back in the day.
God, how are you could even do a fair balance test on that little sleep?
Yeah, so when you're looking back on it now, you're like, that was dumb.
Well,
yeah.
The problem is that you say you're caught in the passionate times, and you're trying to do what you feel is the right move, right? And that is the risk at times, right?
It is.
So, I guess a quick question on that one, because obviously we're the main focus on the left. But how did you balance, I guess the element, because fighting games are so interesting to me in the sense of, on a level design perspective, obviously the PlayStation All-Star Brawlers is a slightly different task with level design, but traditional, shall we say, like Street Fighters, your Tekkens, there isn't much, bar breaking a couple walls, it's kept quite simple to let the combat shine, right? So how did you balance, I guess, working mechanically with that? Because I think they're very just fascinating games from a design point of view to me.
I think that's a really good question. The thing about fighting games or really action-heavy
Yeah,
games is that it's the game supports the mechanics
yeah,
versus the mechanics supporting the game. Like in a story-heavy game, it's like the mechanics will support the game. So it's in many cases the setting
yeah,
is more important and the story is more important than the mechanics
yeah.
in like a horror game,
Mm-hmm.
for example, versus like a fighting game where it's like mechanics are king
Yeah,
above all else there. It's almost like when you're looking at like a Street Fighter character, each of the characters is yeah, they have personality, everything's built into there, but each of them more important than that is each of them has to feel very unique
mm,
mechanically, and then everything else kind of helps support that
yeah,
also. So in PlayStation All Stars, of course, you have characters that are known, and they all have personalities. They all have
yeah,
a particular style or substance that you want to make sure that if you're a fan of this character or you don't understand this
yeah.
character, when you play them, it has to feel in this for. It's a different format, but it has to feel like
Yes.
this character. So that was one of the big things we thought about. And then with the stages, because the stages are all based around a mishmash, is always at least two unique Sony IPs,
Mm.
and the stages kind of morph and like change in the middle. And because in like kind of a arena brawler, kind of like this,
Yeah.
in a traditional fighting game, the stages are just it's just a box
Yeah.
with and they just look different. But with an arena brawler, because the arena is such a big part of the stage too, because of the reactions, or like you get wall bounces,
Yeah.
ground bounces, etc., and the distance at which they can go because of the length and the range of the moves. All the stages are kind of built to kind of take advantage
Yeah.
of these things. So it's very, very different. But because there's such a wide variety of moves, like very long range character, like Radic, I remember was like very, very long range character. So we do well
Yeah.
on really wide open stages with like kind of long line of sight because he's like a sniper.
Yeah.
But then like on shorter stages, more kind of like condensed ones that would rotate. Like there's a local Roco stage that was just kind of be moving.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah.
That would be tough for him. So it was kind of like there was a balance between the character and the stage because some characters would play differently on different stages, and you can see like games in Smash Brothers. That's why like competitive Smash Brothers, really you have like the Battlefield style kind of empty stages because they want to take out the equation of the stage versus the character as much as possible. But it's still tough because some people are built to be more optimal at specific things, specific ranges, specific heights.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one because again, like you're saying, it's player versus player versus player versus the environment as well. And then, but at the same time, you're allowing players to learn both the environment by having characters react different, as well as mastering the character because you trial them in different arenas, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think like going back to the fighting game thing is you can in a lot of fighting games you can have people enjoy playing without having any connection to the players or the setting. It just feels fun.
Yeah.
In that case, but in a game like a horror game, it's very tough to feel no connection to the setting or the character and still have a really good time.
Yeah, the three C's for any game, right? I think is a crucial one, which we will bring up shortly with Silent Hill F because I think you guys really did a phenomenal job with that, especially like as we talked about with horror. It's a very specific feeling, shall we say, right? Like it's not necessarily empowering in the traditional sense of say something like Uncharted, which is about you mastering and growing as Drake and taking on armies versus you're still growing, but you're still at the mercy of many, you know. Before we get there, continue with your story. So we've released that. Where do we go from here next in now?
Oh yes, sorry for the segue there.
No, it's good.
So after PlayStation All Stars, we had a job. I got a job offer in Germany of all places.
Right.
Yeah, working on a online PvP title called Merc Elite.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, I want to kind of say like a online like art like squad what's it, military kind of themed
Right. Mm-hmm.
squad based kind of
Yeah.
RTS. And at that point in time, MOBA's really hot. So I want to just say this, take this opportunity to say this, which is if you are building a game or you are the head of a studio or a
Mm-hmm.
company, please do not chase trends.
Oh yeah.
Is
Yeah.
I this is like the third time in my career that I've run this kind of thing, and the main thing here is by the time you're doing this, it might take you 2 3 years to build
Oh,
something.
that's been optimistic in nowadays in terms
Yeah.
of game dev cycles, right? Like 2 to 3 years is an impressive thing if you can get it done now, right? So
But someone's always gonna build it faster than you.
yes.
Someone may be able to do it better than you.
Yep.
But the main thing is there's gonna be a billion people with the same idea.
Yeah.
So even remember when League of Legends got big,
Mm.
suddenly there was like boom, there's like MOBAs everywhere.
Yes.
When World of Warcraft got big, there's just like all sorts of MMOs
Oh yeah.
everywhere. Overwatch got big, all sorts of hero
Hero
shooters
shooters, yeah.
everywhere. So I'm not saying you can't do a
No,
better
we've seen
job.
Arc Raiders as an example of extraction shooters
Yeah.
come out of nowhere and do that, but it's a an uphill battle. I
Yes.
think is the best way to phrase it. Like, yeah, the dev cycles and all that is
Yeah. It's risky. Not, yeah. Unless you have something you feel is so revolutionary.
Mm.
Maybe not the best. But anyways, back to the story.
Yeah.
MOBAs are hot.
At
This
this time,
point in time.
yeah.
So our CEO was like, build some MOBA. So that's where we took Merc Elite and we turned that into a game called Shards of War.
Right. Okay.
Which is like a military sci-fi MOBA.
Interesting. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We ran that for a few years. I think did pretty well. Ran that for a few years, and then I got a call. So this is a fun story. I got a call from a guy I used to work with in China, Taiwanese guy. He went back to Taiwan, and he's like, "Hey Al, you want to come back to Taiwan to work with me?" I'm like, "No, man." I was like, "Unless you have like a Final Fantasy or like a Silent Hill or like a Street Fighter or a Resident Evil, I'm good." I was like, "I'm doing really well right now." And he's like, "Hey, when can you do a call?" I'm like, "What?" And then, so I took a call with him. He's like, "Yeah, I just want to let you know that we have a Final Fantasy 15 project and we need a director for it." I'm like, "No!"
Dream.
I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, but it's pocket edition, so it's like a cute,
right,
like chibi, like a Cliff Notes version."
I remember that one. Yeah.
And I was like, "That's fine." Oh, I was like, "Are you okay with this?" Like, "Oh no, but that's I just want to work on a Final Fantasy." I was like, "I'll do it." So there we go. Went back to Taiwan. We made that game. That's really interesting because I would say that game is kind of like a demake.
Yeah.
Where we took the entire Final Fantasy 15 game,
which is a huge game.
Yeah, and then we condensed it into like kind of its key components. Down for at that point in time it was mobile.
Yes, because it came to Switch
and PlayStation 4.
Yes, also. Yes.
But it was kind of like okay, how can we make this grand like 40-50 hour story condensed into a few hours, but still let people understand what's going on and make the gameplay, make the mechanics simplified, but still feel like they're from the same world.
Yeah.
And then all the environments, how do we kind of basically, again, Cliff Notes, greatest hits, but still make it feel like it's the same game. So that was a really fun project.
How long did that one take?
Like a year.
That's impressive, man.
That was quite busy.
I imagine.
Yeah.
And I guess like I know another side tangent here, but my your career has been such a one taking you on many different locations, many different styles of games, many genres, and many kind of like different design philosophies, right? And I think that's always fascinating, not just for myself, but I imagine for everyone listening to hear about. I'm a huge Lord of the Ring fan. Wrong side, people can see it over here, the book's there, and it was fascinating watching Peter Jackson try to translate the books into the film. But like again, the books are one thing. Again, it's huge, But like for you to take, as you said, what a game could be possibly 200 hours, right? Realistically, with all the side content, secret bosses, etc. Right, like that. Any Final Fantasy is an epic in its own right. How do you even start by ciphering down and classifying what is the key moments, right? Because that must have been a challenge right from the get go.
Oh yeah, so that was interesting because with Final Fantasy 15, we had the script, we had the entire story, and it was already classified into kind of major story beats.
Right. Okay.
So that was big. And then because we were working off the source material, which
Yeah.
was the PlayStation 4 version,
Yes.
and we were able to play through most of the game in that because most of the game was already done.
Yeah.
At that point in time, we could see that where in the core game, emotionally, these are like kind of the high moments, and these were the important cutscenes,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, or the important areas where like they really felt important to kind of the character development or just the game in general.
Yeah.
And then the areas were kind of like, this is to kind of, pad out some time.
Yeah.
And then maybe some other areas were like, oh, this was to basically give more feeling or to flesh out this area of the world. So we divided our game into kind of chapters, and it's kind of like, okay, we know that we have these areas in the world, and we want to make sure that the player gets a good feeling about where each of these locations at this road trip with these four guys is going. So we kind of bookended it between like key towns, villages, and then fields and dungeons, and sometimes we kind of mash them kind of together. So the towns are always kind of like these key rest points, and we kind of use them as bookends for areas. And then but the field and the dungeon, sometimes it would be like, okay, let's say in the very beginning of the game, there is and it's been a while, there is the gas station, like Sid's gas station.
Yes.
And then there's like this really wide open area.
Yeah.
And then you spend some time there, and then you're trying to basically get your car fixed up, and then you're learning about kind of the character mechanics, and then I believe you fight the first boss, and you kind of learn your what do you call it, the like the team attacks with everybody. But that's the entire section, and I kind of forgot a little bit exactly what happened after that. But that entire section was to kind of get used to that region and your team together.
Yeah.
So we took the gas station, we used that kind of the starting point, kind of refill on stuff, and then we're like, okay, so this region feels like they're really trying to show you the open world. So we specifically built that area to be very wide and expansive. And even though, because it's a linear game, it's not as open world as Final Fantasy 15 was, at least the beginning was. We're trying to like, okay, this area feels wide and expansive, it's open, but what they're trying to do here is kind of get you acclimated to your team.
Yes.
So that's what we really focused on. So we built a lot of extra tutorials in that kind of section, but to still give you the feeling that like it's a really wide open world. It's just you didn't have to go to all these places. You still had like a linear path to follow. And then we ended that with the boss of that section, which actually happened several hours later in the base game, but it didn't feel too out of place because we kind of took that entire section and kind of compacted it, and we skipped some of the areas that, even though they were visually different, we felt like to the player it wasn't the important part, wasn't actually the level. The important part was what actually happened in there.
I see.
And then we kind of used the same kind of method, kind of compressed the game that way.
And I guess then, because we talked about like your studio director as well as game director of Silent Hill F, this is your first directing role. What was the kind of change in your mentality now of making a game where you were, as we sidetracked with PlayStation All Stars, like you're more looking at certain characters, certain mechanics or levels in them, but now you're overseeing not only the whole project but a team. What's the different kind of aspects now of your job and the changes there because of directing?
Gotcha. So this is very interesting because Silent Hill F is my first title as both the studio creative director and that's very different for every studio. What that means for us, it's kind of making sure that the project aligns with what the studio is capable of, and not biting out more than you can chew, and also still being creative. But I'm also the game director, so I'm like on their day to day, and that's on a super high level.
Yes.
So previous games I directed there at NeoBards, I was not studio creative director at that point. Was Resident Evil Resistance.
Yep.
And then previously before that was directing Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, you said, and I had one more director project, which is again Shards of War. So each of these, I think the first thing you look at as a director is what the end goal is, because there's always a, I'll say, use the word client for better or for worse, but that doesn't mean it's someone on the outside.
Yeah.
It could be your boss.
Yes.
It could be the board of directors, that they're like, we want this in particular, and there's usually a set of conditions attached to it. Usually it's budget or time. Most of the time it's budget or time.
Yeah.
And then a particular thing. So for instance, for Resident Evil Resistance, what that was is Capcom came to us and they're like, hey, we have these ideas. We'd like you guys to make us a Resident Evil PvP game.
Yeah.
So for me as the director, my job is not like, I can't say things like, well, traditionally Resident Evil fans maybe don't like PvP as much. That's not my place to say.
No.
My place is to be like, okay, so how can I make with what I have, with the time, the budget, the pieces, because maybe sometimes you already have, some things that like maybe pre-existing tech or pre-existing assets, and you're like, okay, how can I take what I have, the talents of the team, and then looking at the player base, what is it I can build that makes the most sense and the most fun in the time and the budget I have. So I think for a director's job, that's a big part. For Silent Hill F, it was the same thing, where our producer Okamoto-san from Konami came to us, and in the very beginning there was a script and some loose information, 3 pieces of concept art, and basically an idea, which is like, hey, we want to do a new Silent Hill. We want it to be set in Japan.
Right. Okay.
We have our writer Rikishi-san. Here's his first script, and we have these 3 pieces of concept art. What are we gonna do with this? How do we approach it? So how we look at it is like, okay, so at this point we didn't think about time, we didn't think about budget. It was just like, okay, we know about these conditions, because we can't go back and be like, I don't like this writer, or like, I don't like this script, throw it away. No, that's not in our place to say. Our place is basically, okay, we have these things here. And thankfully, actually, the script was very interesting.
Yes.
But as you know, like a script, just words on paper doesn't really translate well into
No.
Yeah.
And that's half your job, right? Like for the whole team to translate, how do you take the written word and make it engaging to the medium of games, right?
Yep. So for us at that point, it's like, all right, we also knew about all of the Silent Hill titles coming out at that point in time. So,
right, okay.
So even before announced, we knew about Short Message, we knew what that was about.
Yeah.
We knew about Ascension, we knew about 2 Remake.
Yeah.
Us, and then Townfall. And part of that is like, okay, well, no one's trying to steal anyone else's thunder. We want each of these to be a unique experience. So where do we fit in here? And that's something we discussed with them also.
It's great that they shared that information, because sometimes, depending, right? Like, because for people who may not be aware, like, NDAs are very prevalent, obviously, and when you're making an installment in any big franchise, any big IP, it is a risk of that information being leaked, right? So to be able, sometimes that stuff's kept hidden for reasons where I believe the phrase is loose lips sink ships. So I think it stems from that. So you knew about that, which is great to have that communication. Does that influence anything? It must be hard not to see some inspirations, right? Because you're all working under the same umbrella or universe, shall we say?
Yep. I think, and again, that just speaks to Konami and their trust in their teams, because it was like, for us, it was like, thank you so much for sharing this information with us, because
Yeah.
then we know whatever we pitch or whatever we're trying to build will not clash with any of the visions of these other
Yeah.
titles. I think that's very important, because when you're trying to revive a franchise like
Yeah.
Silent Hill, um, and it's been so long,
Yes.
it's been over a decade since a new game was renounced
God,
in
yeah.
that series. The last one before that was Downpour, I believe.
God, right, yeah.
It's been a while, yeah.
God, yeah.
So what is it that it's been? I mean, like, and the fans back then, it's like if you were in like grade school at that point in time, you might even be in university, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players of those games are like 3 or 5,
Yep. Yeah.
no experience with the series. And then for us, it was interesting because it's like you do a lot of research. You go online, you're like, what is Silent Hill to people?
Yes.
And then sometimes you have to look past all the memes, which is like, oh, it's just fog, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's about finding what these classic players think.
Mm.
And it's again, a lot of it is reading between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they think is Silent Hill, but at the same time, is you have to grow your audience.
Yes.
So you also have to look at kind of like, okay, what do players like these days? And I think again,
Mm.
Omoto-san was very good at looking at this and talking to us about what he thought too. Um, and it's like, okay, so based on this, based on what we know is coming out, and then based on the script. So thankfully, the script also had some really interesting points in there that we were able to really build gameplay around. It's like, okay, so we pitched more going towards an action slant
Mm.
than anything else. And then because of the script and the things that happen in there, a lot of horror games, actually a lot of modern horror games, keep pushing gunplay.
Yeah. Right. I see.
And so we wanted to do something a little bit different that fit the setting and fit the script. And
Yeah.
for those of you who played the game, I think you know what I'm referencing, where there's a big twist in
Mm.
there. And we're like, okay, well, horror game fans are familiar with melee combat,
Yeah.
but it's not something that's really focused on.
Yes.
So we're like, okay, it's not something wholly unfamiliar, but we want to kind of take this and kind of push it more and kind of like make it basically more robust. So that was a
Yeah.
big part of it.
And I
Also.
think especially like when you go back and play, I'm showing my age, but the original first one, the first three installments, shall we say, like one of your main weapons throughout really is the steel pipe that you find, right? And again, melee combat in general has evolved so much from when they released on the original PlayStation and PlayStation 2. I think that, like I said, you even expanding on that still keeps it in that, ties it to the original and it keeps it in the IP, I guess, in that sense. And with that, do you feel, I guess, how do you feel combat has changed, right? Because part of your role throughout your career was a combat designer. And when you look at the originals, where do you decide to take that? Because so much evolution has happened in melee combat, right? Whether that be the more rhythm dance based of, say, something like the Arkham series, to the more slow but stamina draining Dark Souls. Where do you find the balance that still ties in with horror?
Mm. I think that's a very interesting question. So
Yeah.
I think there's two parts to that. So the first one, like going back to Silent Hill, is that, and you mentioned this, like the steel pipe.
Yeah.
So Silent Hill is interesting in that for a lot of players, depending on when you get into the series, it means something different to everybody. So let's say 1 and 3 are actually really big on more supernatural
Yeah.
elements, the order, and then you fight
Oh,
God.
yeah.
At the end,
Yes.
spoilers, sorry, you fight God
Yeah.
several times.
Yeah. God just doesn't get the message.
I know, right? It
you know?
doesn't. It often doesn't. But then you go to 2, and it's really just about all those elements are gone. It's about one man's struggles.
Yes. Yeah.
And you get to 4, and it's also something completely different, just loosely
Yeah.
tied in. It's not even in Silent Hill, actually.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, like, well, what does Silent Hill actually mean? And then you'll see in a lot of anthology style games, like there's RPGs out there where like the currency is the same, the way spells are named is the
Yes.
same. You'll see recurring elements in terms of what do you call it, transportation,
Yeah.
the animals you ride, etc., etc. Uh, and none of those stories are connected at all. But because it's an anthology series, there are recurring elements that make it feel like they're all part of the same
Yeah.
series. So that's something we looked at with Silent Hill, which because like wow, it actually is very very different, even the early
Yes.
ones. So when you brought up the pipe, that was a really interesting one, which is like a pipe is so connected to like the main character weapon
Yeah.
of Silent Hill that if you remember our second trailer ever had Hinako. You didn't even know her name at that point.
Yeah.
You had the girl dragging the
From the
pipe.
pipe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like that was like really really early shot in the trailer. As soon as you saw that, a lot of characters, a lot of players are like Silent Hill,
Yes. Yeah.
and this is really important. Where that's where you kind of pull on the nostalgia, and even for the newer players, where just like there's no memes, pipe like a pipe and fog.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
big part of it. So by touching on that, that was like one of the big decisions. That's why the first weapon you get, and the default weapon in Silent Hill F is steel pipe.
Yeah.
You know, and even though like in earlier games, you know, wood gets plywood gets replaced with the pipe,
Yep.
gets replaced with the hammer. Like it changes, but it's just that thing's iconic.
Yes.
So that was a very important part. Now going to the combat, so that's again like how we kind of focused on Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Again, what is it that people remember? What is it in if you look at it as an anthology series, what is it isn't that's important in there? Even though the stories may be different.
Yeah.
Now for combat, I think it's very difficult. For this is my personal opinion, but I feel that horror game combat is way, way, way harder than action game combat, traditional action game combat, mainly because you are trying to build something that is intentionally clunky and has restrictions
Yeah. That's a
to it,
good word.
but still feels engaging enough that you just don't want to break, your controller. And I think it's very, very difficult.
I want to ask her now because it's a great point. Like I realize I really like the word use restrictions, right? Because uh, I'm sure people have connected there. But when you're building for an action game, like we talked about, it's mastery of I'm a badass now and I can take on armies of people. Versus you said like there's a restriction because you're not meant to feel like a badass in a certain degree, right? Like you are still probably the weakest thing in that universe, right? So I guess like when you use the word clunky as well, is there any aspects that you think you can name? Not how do you make it feel clunky but not rage inducing, right? Like is it the speed of attack? Is it the delay after a button press? Like where do you look for those aspects?
Gotcha. That's again a really good question. For us, I feel, well, like for me personally, my philosophy is that I don't think there's actually things that you can do in action games to a specific degree. It can't feel too unrealistic.
Yeah.
For instance, compared to a horror game, because if you look at Silent Hill, if we have like perfect dodges, we have counters,
Yeah.
like stuff that was very traditionally action game, but it's the speed and the rate at which you can do these things. And what's the word I'm looking for? It is the commitment to each action in a horror game that has to feel a lot more punitive than is in a traditional action game. So, for instance, that's where we have stamina in the game. So, in an action game, I can just I just keep hitting the button and it's just gonna boop, 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 and it might not be the best thing to do it, but I'm almost never gated in what I'm doing. And a lot of it is with the animations. You're like, oh, it's a really slow, heavy animation. You don't do that unless you get hit. But a lot of these games let you just cancel and just like dodge out of stuff. So it's more of a reaction game. In a lot of terms, not everyone, but often. In Silent Hill F or in a lot of these more slower paced horror games, it's about committing to it, making sure you commit to an action and taking your time with that, because if you make the wrong move, you'll be punished. And it's at a much slower pace. So we slow down these things quite a bit. In other kind of traditional gun-based horror games, for instance, uh, when you're aiming the gun at an enemy, the crosshair kind of slowly goes down.
Yes.
So if I'm just like panicking, I'm just firing like really high choice chance that you're gonna miss the enemy. But it's like slow it down, take your time before you shoot, because it's slowing down the pace of combat. Versus like let's say like like modern military shooter, they have the thing where you know the aim down sights are super fast. Soon as you pull up the gun, that's usually when it's like the most pinpoint. Before I fire, it's the most pinpoint. So it's often like quickly like raise it, shoot, drop it, raise it, shoot, drop it, raise it, shoot, drop it. Because it's like the faster you go, the faster you react.
Yeah.
The more what do you call it, the better it is for you. And we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to slow down the time. And then that adds tension for these traditional gun-based games.
Yeah.
It's easy because the further away the enemy is from you, the safer you are. But then for Silent Hill F, because it's melee based, where you want to be and where the enemy wants to be is much more like kind of intertwined, is much closer together. So that's where we add a lot of things like focus, where you're waiting for the right window you can counter.
Yes.
And to me, that's our counter mechanic is almost like a mini jump scare.
That's a good way to phrase it.
Where you're kind of waiting for the opening. It's like, okay, do I want to wait for this, or am I going to take my shot and attack?
Yeah.
And it's really, that's the tension. You're not quite sure exactly when, and there's things you can tell from like animations and the movement, but it's also trying to let the player know it's like maybe it's not the best to rush into things all the time.
I think as well with that one, because that some really good answers there. I feel like when I phrase it like that, you've passed my test. There is no test. I guess my question is, I'm building on that one, right? Like, because you mentioned there, like with range combat, the further an enemy is, the safer you feel, right? Because you're keeping them at bay. I guess with horror, compared to like we've been talking about, action is another comparison, right? Where to increase difficulty, it might be the solution is the number of enemies, the number of waves, the spawn rate, right? So it keeps action fast. But when you're working on a horror, and especially Silent Hill F, right? Like, because you place even just the more, I don't know the correct name, but mannequin style looking enemies, which is your base enemy. You place them, whether that be in an open space with that, like the fields, for example, or in tighter spaces like when you're in interiors of houses. I guess, how do you still create a threat of an enemy when there's fewer of them, right? Like the weight is not, oh shit, I'm against thousands of enemy. The weight is like, this one enemy can kill me, let alone as soon as you throw two in here. Now the tensions increase. Like, how do you still bring the weight to a sole enemy, I guess?
Gotcha. I think the easiest way people would say is just like, well, they're just really hard to kill.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the cop-out answer on that. What it really is about, to me, is like finding the right opportunity and also using the right tactics. And those tactics are always about slowing down time. Slowing down the pace of engagement. So you just can't like just off them constantly. So to give you an example, with gun-based horror games, if I'm not aiming for the head, and I'm not aiming down sights, and I'm just kind of blindly firing into this monster, it might take like 10 hits to take them down. Whereas like if I'm very slow and I wait for each shot, it might take 2 or 3 headshots. So not only are you creating tension in time, because in 10 shots they might be up in your face and biting you, versus in 2 or 3 shots you can kind of keep them away. It's also resources. So in horror games, how to put this? If I see a monster in front of me and I know it takes 3 shots to kill them, I have 5 bullets in my gun versus I have 100 bullets in my gun. What you as the player want to do as a decision and how nervous you are is going to change very drastically. So it's a big part of that resource conservation, which is, what do I give you? What do I get in return? and it has to be understood by the player.
Yeah.
Which is like, maybe this is not the best exchange of resources. And then a lot of these other horror games, it's fun because it's, even if it's a horror game, and we found this out in previous games, like if you give the player a weapon, they're gonna want to hit stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, it's just human nature.
Yeah.
But when you really focus on that, again, other horror games might be, I shoot this enemy, I kill it, and there's a chance it'll drop some bullets or or drop some healing items, and you're like, when you fight them, you're like, I don't feel so bad because the chances of me getting something, I might get something out of it.
Yeah.
So you don't feel too bad fighting these guys. However, in Silent Hill, we also made the conscious decision of no enemies do not drop anything when you kill them, so it's always a net negative exchange.
That's really smart, though. Okay.
So it was one of those things where I was like, well, if you're gonna fight it, it's basically, I have an overabundance of resources. I have made the decision that maybe it's in a hallway that you're gonna cross back and forth several times, and we use that a lot, which is like in Hinako's house, for instance, towards the middle end of the game. There's several areas where you have to cross back and forth, and we put enemies in these areas, very small spaces. So not only are they nervous because you don't have too much space to move around, it's kind of like do I want to spend my resources to take care of these enemies here because it's tough for me to get around them, but also I'm gonna have to come back this way, so maybe it's just better for me to take care of it.
Yeah.
Now, wide open spaces, it's more about like, okay, I can avoid these guys, but still, maybe I will have to come back this way. Do I want to be careful? And then we use this also to trick, I don't want to say trick, but we use this to kind of force interactions off players where some of the scariest things are like, you see something here, you're like, look over here, and you get slapped by the other hand, kind of. So we use that trick quite a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You've got more to say, please.
No, please.
I was going to say, because we're talking primarily right now on the mechanical side, and I'd be remiss not to mention, you talked about many installments of Silent Hill having many different meanings, interpretations, and especially like the first one, you are just fighting a cult and god, the reincarnation with the daughters. But one of the things that I think people really fell in love with regardless which Silent Hill, is the kind of deeper thought behind every meaning, whether that be the enemies or the stories, right? Especially from 2 onwards, even to short message, right? Like the enemy design, the world design really is a reflection of what the characters are internally struggling with. I guess, how do you approach that alongside from a mechanical point of view, but also like the design of enemies, right? Like, I don't know if you want to share anything on like, oh, we designed these characters to match certain aspects, because again, we're trying to stay spoiler light, but yeah, how much thought goes into that aspect, especially in the IP and universe of Silent Hill? It's fascinating.
Gotcha. So compared to different horror games, everything in Silent, like you said, everything in Silent Hill has a meaning behind it. And I think that's interesting because like in our puzzle design and our levels, they're not just like they are obtuse, but they're not just like a random thing.
Yes.
They're always tied into a specific part of the story at all times. So let me divide this into 2 sections, which is level and then enemy characters. So on the level side, we have the setting. We know about this. And it's, for me, people play games as a form of, I want to say, tourism. It's about seeing new things, kind of having new and interesting experiences. Or maybe sometimes it's about traveling to some places very comforting to them.
Silent Hill's probably not that bad.
No, probably not. Yeah, I don't think I would go there.
Wouldn't pay for a vacation.
Yeah, no, probably, definitely not.
Not on my bucket list.
Yeah, exactly. It's or you got tricked into.
Hey, look, we've all been scammed once or twice, so we're all suckers.
Silent Hill timeshare, maybe don't.
You tell me they're not a prince from Silent Hill, and we're just needing the money support. All right.
Oh, with the Silent Hill, because of the setting, and this time it's kind of a place we're taking you, which
Yes.
is Japan.
Yeah.
But not only just Japan, but Silent Hill has always been about kind of the uncomfortable uncertainty in there and this uneasiness. So it's set in 1960s Japan.
Again, which is one of the earlier settings we've ever seen in any of the Silent Hill games. Most were on about like in the 90s for the most part, from what I remember. Yeah.
And then 60s are interesting to me, especially.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, countryside Japan,
Mm.
1960s. So you have two layers of kind of unfamiliarity for a lot of players, especially from the West, which is
Yep.
no one really knows what the countryside in Japan. Well, how to put it, if you go for tourism in Japan, majority of people are going to go to like a big city like Tokyo, or like you're going to see Kyoto or something. Um, Very few people are going to travel way out into the countryside. So that's kind of like a storybook thing.
Yeah.
I would say it's almost kind of like, countryside, like deep in the countryside of England. You see that in the storybooks. It's very,
Yeah.
but it's like how many people when they come visit the UK for the first time, will actually go to these.
Oh no, it's London primarily, right?
Yeah. So it's understandable what this is.
Yeah.
But it's also there's like air of like, oh, what exactly is this place like? So we have this as an advantage, and then the time frame, and this is what our writer Rikishi-san talks about, is right at the edge of mythology of modernity. Very, very deep quote. But what that means to us is that there's a lot of things that are familiar to people, but at the same time, a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, like a rotary phone.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen these before. Especially for like maybe the younger players, they're like, okay, I know what this is.
Yeah.
But how exactly does it work? Like how did this technology work? Or I've never interacted with this thing before, and that's that kind of level of kind of like foreignness.
Yes.
It's kind of diffused throughout the entire game, and then we have these two things, but then when we choose locations, we try to use the same kind of mindset. So I'll give you an example. So in Silent Hill F, we have a school. I think this is one of the locations that a lot of players really enjoyed. For classic players, there's a throwback to like Midwich Elementary School. They're like, oh, I've kind of seen this before. But for a lot of newer players, maybe you've seen a Japanese school in like anime or in like a TV show or drama or something like that.
So I've just remembered, it's the quote from Metal Gear Solid 1 where he first sees Snake. He's like, you're just like one of my Japanese animes. So yes, we've all seen the anime high school, definitely not the one that lived up to many people's fantasies. A different experience. But yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where like I find it interesting from a culture perspective is we all know what a school is.
Yes.
Yeah. But how a school operates in every culture is very different. So, I mean, even so, we'll say like a school in the UK versus a school in the United States. Right. It's still speaking English, but the way the classes are structured, the way the buildings are.
In fact, you have three schools, right? What was it? Like elementary, middle school, high school. Traditionally, we have primary and secondary school. That's so already just a difference there.
Yeah, and even I believe if you have like college, and that means something very different.
Yes.
In UK compared to how it works in the US.
Yeah. So your college would be our university.
Yes.
So yeah.
So even little things like this, even though there's so much shared culture between US and the UK, you have these differences, and that's what's interesting. Is like, so okay, you know what happens at a school in Japan, but like the layout is very, very particular. Windows are all on one side, hallways are set, stairs have to be put in a specific place. There's always a very large yard for outdoor activities or for meetings, whatnot. These things are all very standard in Japanese school architecture.
Yeah.
For instance, but it's not something that is standard in like UK school or US school. So again, you know what's happening there, but the structure of the building or just of the classes of the activities that happens there, like how homeroom would work, etc., etc. There's that element of foreignness. So for us, because in order to relate to something, you have to have a sense of like, I understand or I can relate to this thing. And if it's too foreign, if it's too new, it's too fresh, it's like I
Yeah.
have no idea what this is. It's very hard to relate
Yeah.
to this. So, and I think a lot of sci-fi uh, games or movies or just sci-fi media
Yeah.
has this issue is like when you try to portray something alien as so alien that I cannot
Yes.
relate to it anymore, it's too much.
Yeah.
So this is something we do when we kind of try to pick our environments.
Mm.
Um, Again, the callback to Silent Hill, if we can, that kind of nature of familiarness yet
Yeah.
unfamiliarity are all very big for us.
Mm. And I guess with this as well, like, would we use the score as the example? The choice of a main character again can be such a powerful one in many different ways, right? As you talked about, like whether that be tourism, experiencing life from a perspective of a new lens. I guess when you Silent Hill has many different characters, as we talked about, right? Like throughout the IP. I guess for you, when you talked about the script, was the character already decided, and then how do you translate the character from the written word that you first started with towards what we get as the player? How do you look in towards that?
Gotcha. So I think I'm gonna twist this into more of a structure
Mm-hmm.
answer. So as we know, any of you guys that work in any sort of media, be it
Yeah.
film or games, TV, etc., etc., script, words on the paper are very, very different than the final product,
Yeah.
especially when you're in games, which is very different from all these, which is a story is kind of a linear narrative
Yes.
that you can control. Movie is linear narrative.
Yeah.
I can control where the player is looking. But with the game, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
It's tough to control, so pacing is very important
Yeah.
to us. And then also, you kind of touched upon this, which is like fear for the players. There's a difference between what the character on the screen is feeling
Yeah.
and what the player is
Yes.
feeling. And it's very tough because a very experienced horror game player might not find the same situation as tense or scary as a less experienced
Mm.
one.
Yeah.
So we have this to balance out too. Because we can't just be like, hey, be scared,
Yeah.
you know? So looking at this, when we look at the entire script, the first thing we kind of did is kind of thought to ourselves, okay, how do we take this experience and make it so that it fits in an interactive medium? I'm going to take one step back and talk about the pillars of
Yeah.
our game. So some of the key pillars of our game when we started out, one of them was it has to feel like Silent Hill.
Yeah.
The second one, and these are the two that relate most to the story, is because we have a writer that is an established entity with an established style,
Mm.
we had to make sure it felt like a Yakishi 07 game also.
Ah, right, okay.
Yep. So for those viewers who don't know who Yakishi 07 is, he is a primarily visual novel writer or creator, I should say. So Higurashi, When They Cry, Umineko, Chiconia, so some of his bigger works. He has a very particular style, and visual novels usually have this thing where they're meant to be played several times. Loops.
Yeah.
His work is very loopy, not in loopy as in
Yeah.
yeah, but as in you have to go through several times, and it's like an ogre. It has layers that has to be peeled away.
Good reference there.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you. So one of the big things is like, okay, it has to feel like one of his titles. So he wrote a lot of stuff for the game. The initial script was huge, but kind of like Moby Dick, there's a lot of information which is like, this could be in an appendix.
Yeah, I see.
Or does this really need to be known at this point in time?
Yeah.
So what we did there is we're like, all right, and this we have to thank Okamoto-san and Konami for allowing us to do this, but we tried to be very brave in the way we told the story, because without playing it through several times, you don't really get the full thing. The the first ending kind of leaves you out of what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
But as you're peeling back the layers of this ogre, you're gonna get more and more like information on what exactly happened, because Silent Hill is all about the unreliable narrator. And that's like a big point of like you're always questioning what's actually happening, what's actually real
Right.
or not. So we spent a lot of time taking all his information. He wrote a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we know it's going to be a loop structure. It's not just going to be like you play, you get to the end, it splits off. During each loop, what type of information do we expose to the player? Because the important thing for us is, and this is maybe like from a director point of view, you have a limited budget,
Yeah.
you have a limited time. You want to make things interesting for the player. So one of the things we're looking at also is like, there's movies out there where it's like when you watch it for the first time, it's a very different experience because than the second time, because maybe at the end of the movie there is a twist.
Yeah.
That's like it was all in his head or something like that.
Yeah.
And then once you watch it for the second time, the movie itself has not changed at all.
Yeah.
But with that extra information, you're like, oh, you're seeing it in an entirely different light. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do this. And it's kind of like a budget-friendly way to make people go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know? So we made the conscious decision, which is we locked the first ending to a specific thing, because without this, it would be tough to peel back these layers.
Yeah.
And then starting from, and it was a little bit controversial, but I think without doing this, it would be impossible to do this kind of story structure.
I see.
And then for each subsequent ending, each variation or each branch you took would give you information that would kind of peel back specific layers until you got to the very end.
That's fascinating, that. Yeah, because obviously Silent Hill is known for multiple endings, but the fact that you've chosen to... Because they were... The previous Silent Hill ones, for maybe those who don't know, were based on certain actions. Like Silent Hill 2 is still quite abstract on how you get certain endings. So for you to turn it into a proper... using the traditions, but also turn it into a narrative tool is quite a smart and just interesting choice to do that. That's really cool. I'm aware of time, mate. So I guess my last question to you, is there something that you want to, whether it be an aspect, mechanic, character, level, part of the game that you really want to give like a real shout out to, in-depth breakdown where you think it really just show off what you and your team accomplished with what you made?
Gotcha. Well, I think this is I'm gonna commandeer this question a bit, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is something I always like to say. And as a director, I think it's very important to realize that games are not made by one person.
Yeah,
they're made by a team. Like I can't be like Al did everything for this game. That's bullshit. All right, I just yell at people. That's my job. But it's all about, as a director, it's all about taking everyone's super cool ideas and making sure they all align.
Yeah.
So as a director and as leaders, I think our jobs are, let's say you see a mountain range and you're like, okay guys, we're gonna climb this peak over here. Ignore these other ones. We're gonna climb this guy, and here's the reason we're gonna climb this peak. Anybody have any questions? All right. I think we should use this route and this gear because of these reasons. All right. It's not the gear or the route that's important. It's the reasons that are important. And it's about letting your team kind of find, they have the clear direction. Yeah. But it's up to them to find the route, to use the gear. If they don't think the gear you picked for them is good, and again, for me, it's always like, look, if the final idea is mine, that means I think I'm doing a bad job. All right? Because it should be your idea at the end. I'm here to facilitate the direction. I'm just here to make sure you hit the goal. I'm not here to tell you how to hit the goal. I'm just giving you a suggestion on what I would do. but I'm not spending as much time as you guys on this particular action. So for these guys, again, it's about, okay, how do I hit this goal creatively? And something I like to do is for level design, for instance, if just say if it's me and I built the entire game, it would just feel like the same thing throughout everyone because again, I'm no genius. There are people who can do it, but it's very hard to kind of have really fresh stuff for a game this size constantly.
Yeah.
But for our designers, what I like to do, especially our level guys, is I like to space them out. So it's not like you take care of the first 3 hours of the game, take care of the next 3 hours. It's more like you're going to take care of this 30-minute chunk. You're going to take care of this 30-minute chunk. You're going to take care of this 1 hour chunk. And it's taking these guys, because every designer has their own kind of unique style and flavor. But if you have like 3 hours of the same flavor in a row, it's gonna get less and less surprising. But if I have 30 minutes or an hour of this flavor, and then I switch to another one, but the goal is still coherent. It's still in the same universe. It still plays the same, but the flavor is a little bit different. And then a few hours later, I come back and it's like, oh, I remember this kind of feeling, but it's been so long since the last one. Maybe I'm not used to the way the pacing is anymore, or the way the setup is anymore. So by kind of layering and picking where these designers work in the grand scheme of things, you get a more fresh experience because you're getting different thoughts and different styles kind of interspersed, and not having like big chunks of one style back and forth. So I think that was a really smart thing for our team here, and it really showcased the designer's kind of abilities. And it helps the pacing of the game a lot. And as a random aside, there's a thing for us we do internally, and this is kind of more advice to leaders and directors out there, which is knowing when to take a step back and what's best for the game and not best for you yourself. There's something where when we're discussing design ideas, and I'm like, oh, Al, think this is the best thing, and you, designer, think this is the best thing, and I'll explain why. And at the end, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, I don't really like this, and I don't think I'm wrong based on the criteria we laid out, but what you gave me is not wrong either based on the criteria we laid out. I will always pick the designer's idea, because sometimes I think it's very important for leaders to understand. It's kind of like, you might like chocolate, I might not like vanilla better. It doesn't mean either of these flavors are bad or one is definitively better than the other. It's because everybody has their own preference. And that's why delineating a clear goal is so important, because at the end of the day, you might be something like, well, you hit the goal, but I don't like it because I think vanilla is better. You give me chocolate, but the goal has been hit. So at that point, for me, I always take a step back and I'm like, okay, you know what? It has hit what we set out to do. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but that doesn't matter, because at this point, it's realizing it's not wrong. It's just a personal choice. And I think it's always better for leaders to kind of be like, okay, I want to let the designer's idea shine through, because that's going to add extra flavor to the game, because if it's always your flavor, it's going to be the same the entire way through.
No, it's a great one, man. Well, as you say, thank you very much for taking part on this. We definitely overran versus what we planned, but it was fascinating to hear. So if anyone wants to reach out to you or anything, where's the best place to get in contact with yourself?
I think the best place at this point is you can probably find me on Blue Sky or Twitter. That's at QQBERT. Yeah.
I will have a link for them all in the description below. So thank you very much again, mate. We appreciate it. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so again over on Twitter or at Blue Sky, which is just @MaxPairs. Email into the show, leveldesignlobby@gmail.com, with any questions you may have as well. So thank you all. Take care, and we'll catch you all next time.